You know that dread of opening up an April changelog?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you're just sitting there scanning through hundreds of routine patch notes, and you're terrified you're going to miss the one massive architectural shift that makes your entire workflow obsolete by next Tuesday.
Right, the one that completely breaks your current setup.
Exactly. Well, today we are cutting through all that noise. Welcome back to another custom-tailored deep dive. We are thrilled to have you with us as we dig into a truly massive stack of updates. We're pulling directly from the latest edition of Andrew Kagan's weekly newsletter, technical news you can possibly use.
And, I mean, we really have to flag this right up front for you. It has been an exceptionally heavy news week.
Oh, heavy's an understatement.
Yeah, specifically from Microsoft. We're talking major April 2026 announcements spanning across Azure, M365, DevOps, security. The volume is just staggering.
It's a lot. But to keep you from suffering complete information overload today, we're going to navigate through the 8 critical focus areas Kagan highlighted. We want to find the actual, aha moments hidden in all these changelogs.
And if you look past the individual feature drops, a really cohesive pattern is emerging here. We're clearly moving past the phase of just, bolting AI onto existing apps. The foundational infrastructure is literally being rewired for autonomous workflows.
Right. But that rewiring, it has to start at the bedrock, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, before we even talk about flashy AI agents, we have to look at where the data actually lives.
Yes. Data gravity.
Right. So let's look at Azure and data analytics first. Kagan's newsletter highlights the general availability of private network support for Azure Cosmos DB mirroring into Microsoft Fabric's OneLake.
Which honestly is a perfect example of resolving a huge enterprise bottleneck. I mean, Microsoft Fabric is supposed to be this unified analytics platform, right? But the roadblock has always been compliance. Large organizations, they just cannot have their most sensitive operational databases, their Cosmos DB environments exposed over public networks, even for internal analytics.
Right. The security team would just laugh you out of the room. They need that data completely walled off inside their own virtual networks.
Exactly. So by enabling this mirroring into Fabric using private endpoints and VNets, the data moves through secured private pathways. It's essentially a zero ETL situation.
Wait, zero ETL, so no complex data pipelines.
Right. No extract, transform, load overhead. The data just flows seamlessly into the analytics engine. The data science team gets the near real-time access they want, and the security team gets to keep their lockdown perimeter.
Okay, but what happens when that perimeter is literally in the middle of nowhere?
Ah, the edge computing piece.
Yeah, because if you're a military contractor, or, operating the deep-sea oil rig, your data is completely disconnected. So Microsoft is collaborating with Armada to deliver Azure Local on Galleon Modular Data Centers, or MDCs.
Right, these are physical, totally self-contained computing units deployed directly into the field.
I was thinking about this, and it operates basically like an AI submarine.
A submarine, I like that, yeah.
Right. As sub dives, it severs its connection to the mothership, but it doesn't lose its capability. The sonar, the radar, the analytical engines, they're all running locally on board. And then when it surfaces, it syncs back up.
That is exactly what this Armada collaboration is delivering. You are running Microsoft sovereign private cloud capabilities, the whole Azure operating model, in environments that have zero outside connectivity.
It's wild.
Well, it comes back to that data gravity concept. Data has mass, right? So when a remote manufacturing plant is generating petabytes of telemetry, the bandwidth to move that data set to a public cloud for AI processing is just
impossible, or insanely expensive.
Exactly. Plus, sovereign data laws often legally restrict that movement anyway. So if the data is too heavy to travel to the AI, well, the AI has to travel to the data. This hardware collaboration physically transports the AI stack to the absolute edge of the network.
Okay, but to keep that infrastructure resilient, John Saville had some updates this week, pointing out some new safety nets.
Yes, the Entra and Azure Monitor updates.
Right. So Entra Microsoft's Identity Suite now has robust backup and recovery with 5 daily snapshots and soft delete. And Azure Monitor introduced a native OpenTelemetry protocol endpoint for OLTP ingestion.
That Entra update is just a fundamental failsafe. If an admin accidentally deletes a critical service principal,
which happens all the time.
Oh, constantly. Or if a malicious actor messes with your identity infrastructure, you now have a localized undo button. You're not rebuilding from scratch.
And the OpenTelemetry update.
That changes how developers handle observability. Historically, to stream logs and metrics into Azure Monitor, you had to embed proprietary proprietary Microsoft agents into your application code.
Right, which is just massive vendor lock-in, huge friction for engineering teams.
Exactly. But by natively supporting the open source OTLP standard, devs can just write their telemetry code once using universal standards. Azure Monitor just becomes a destination that can read that universal language.
So it strips away all that configuration overhead.
Completely.
Okay, so if we are pushing all this powerful compute to these remote edges, how do developers actually write software for that? Because it's not like building a standard web app. Kagan highlights this architectural shift happening right now between containers and WebAssembly.
Yeah, WebAssembly or WASM. Containers like Docker have been the default for years, right? They bundle the app with its dependencies.
Right.
But WebAssembly is a different paradigm. It was originally engineered to run high-performance compiled code safely inside web browsers. But now it's escaped the browser. It's being deployed directly onto edge devices.
And the benchmarks are showing it's actually outperforming containers at the edge because containers still carry a portion of the operating system with them, right? They have overhead.
Exactly. WASM is just a compiled binary format. It runs in this memory-safe, highly restricted sandbox.
Yeah.
So without that OS baggage, it boots up in milliseconds. A container might take several seconds. Yeah, so when you're deploying code to a localized IoT node or one of those modular data centers we talked about with finite compute, footprint is everything.
Speaking of the developer experience, Windows Subsystem for Linux, WSL, is getting faster file access and better networking. So that local dev loop is getting tighter. But building the app is only half the battle. How do we integrate AI into the actual day-to-day workflow of a company?
Right, the orchestration piece.
There's a tool mentioned in the newsletter called PromptQL, and the premise is taking casual Teams or Slack messages and turning them into secure, actionable context for enterprise AI agents.
Yeah, to solve what they call coordination theater, where we just spend all day talking about work in chat apps rather than doing the work.
Okay, look, I got to push back on this one.
I thought you might.
Do we really want AI scraping our messy Slack channels? Enterprise chat is so noisy, it's full of typos, half-baked ideas, lunch orders. If you point an AI at that unstructured mess, aren't you just feeding the AI terrible context?
I mean, that is the primary engineering hurdle. But it's exactly what PromptQL aims to sanitize. The core issue is that AI agents usually fail because they lack real-time context.
How so?
Well, an AI might have read the official project charter on SharePoint, right? But it has no idea that the project lead just changed the entire scope in a quick Teams huddle 10 minutes ago.
Oh, I see. It doesn't know the current reality.
Exactly. It lacks the rhythm of business. So PromptQL acts as a translation layer. It securely ingests that chaotic communication, filters out the noise, and structures the actual decisions into a format an LLM can understand.
So it shifts the AI from just querying static historical documents to actually understanding the living, breathing operations of the business.
Spot on.
Okay, that transition from an AI that just retrieves documents to an agent that actually understands context and executes tasks, that brings us to the Microsoft 365 updates. This is where it gets really interesting. They introduced Copilot co-work.
And we really need to clarify the terminology here for you. This is not a skinned chatbot.
No, not at all.
It is a cloud-based agentic runtime using Anthropic's Opus 4.6 model. It's designed for complex, long-running reasoning.
Right. It doesn't just answer a single prompt. John Saville did a YouTube demo of this, and it was like a supervillain demo, literally.
Oh, yeah, the DC Comics incident report.
Yeah. He uploaded 20 different incident reports about DC supervillains, and he gave it a single prompt. He asked Copilot Cowork to analyze the data, draft an executive summary in Word, build a PowerPoint, and generate an interactive HTML map of the incidents.
And it did it autonomously. It took, what, 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, about that. It was basically an incredibly competent intern. It read the files, did the correlation, wrote the doc, designed the slides, and coded a web app. But the crazy part was the self-correction.
That's the key to the Opus 4.6 model.
When the HTML map didn't render properly, Saville didn't open the code to debug it. He just typed, "Hey, the HTML map doesn't work, can you fix it?" And the agent reasoned through its own code, found its own syntax errors, and deployed a working map.
What you're seeing there is an agentic loop. A standard LLM interaction is linear, right? You input a prompt, you get an output, the session ends.
Right.
But an agentic loop gives the AI the ability to reflect. It plans, it executes, it observes the result, and if it fails, it autonomously loops back to correct its approach.
And the fact that this runs entirely in the cloud is a massive governance win. I mean, if that agent ran locally, My laptop would literally melt trying to process Opus 4.6.
True. But more importantly, from a security standpoint, if it's local, your compliance team has zero visibility into what that agent is quietly building on your hard drive.
Oh, that's a good point.
By running it in the cloud, it's totally observable. It's auditable by Microsoft Purview. When it makes that Word doc, it saves it directly to your OneDrive and automatically applies the correct sensitivity labels based on the data it read.
It's bounded by your existing access controls. And we're seeing those boundaries tighten across the Power Platform, too. Copilot Studio is getting a Python code interpreter and custom graders. But at the same time, Power Pages is introducing admin governance to stop developers from accidentally exposing trial sites to the public internet.
Well, yeah, when you lower the barrier to entry so much that anyone can generate a web app with natural language, the risk of data exfiltration just skyrockets. You have to enforce guardrails by default.
Right. And there's this seemingly mundane update to M365 Archive that Kagan mentioned, but it actually plays a huge role here. They're adding file-level archiving for SharePoint to move inactive data to cold storage.
It sounds like simple storage optimization, but it's really about AI accuracy.
Right, because of retrieval augmented generation, or RE.
Yes. When an AI searches your tenant for an answer, it pulls from your files. If your SharePoint is full of outdated project drafts from 2019, the AI might pull that obsolete data and hallucinate a totally wrong answer.
Right, it doesn't know any better.
So by archiving that old stuff, you clean up the AI's search scope. You remove the noise, and the agent's output gets much more accurate.
Okay, if we have autonomous agents analyzing our data and writing code, how on earth do we secure them? This leads right into the RSAC 2026 announcements.
The security paradigm is completely shifting.
Cisco launched a new framework for enterprise AI agents, hardening them before deployment. Palo Alto introduced Prisma ARIS 3.0 to secure the agentic lifecycle. Kubescape 4.0 is bringing agent scanning to Kubernetes. But the wild one was Novi.
The autonomous AI red teaming.
Yes. They built an AI agent whose only job is to hunt for vulnerabilities in other LM applications. So my question is, are we basically just building AI to fight AI now? I mean, Novi deploys AI to attack, Cisco deploys AI to defend. Where does the human security team even fit in?
It's a really important question. Traditional security was always about human access controls. Did this human log in from a known IP address? But an AI agent doesn't act like a human. It can operate across dozens of APIs simultaneously at machine speed. So the security model has to shift from analyzing access to analyzing intent.
Intent.
Yeah. If an internal AI agent suddenly starts requesting access to your entire customer database, even if it technically has those permissions, the defending AI has to recognize that anomalous behavior and sever the connection instantly. A human analyst can't react that fast.
So the human is just watching.
Not watching, designing. The human security architect designs the rules of engagement for the defending agents. You establish the absolute boundaries of what the machine is allowed to do.
Okay, that transition from doing the work to managing the machine doing the work, that brings us to the human cost of all this. Privacy and upskilling. There's a huge controversy right now regarding GitHub Copilot.
Yes, the policy update starting April 24th.
Let's just lay out the impartial facts here.
Yep.
Starting April 24th, GitHub is going to use interaction data from Copilot Free, Pro, and Pro Plus users to train Microsoft's AI models. And they can retain that data for up to 5 years.
And that interaction data includes prompts, accepted or rejected code snippets, the structure of your repositories. It's a very comprehensive behavioral footprint.
But the controversy is the asymmetry, right? Enterprise and business accounts are completely exempt. Their corporate IP is heavily protected. But individual developers on personal tiers are opted in by default. You have to manually dig into your settings to opt out.
Which exposes a fundamental friction in this ecosystem. To make tools like Copilot Cowork better, they need massive amounts of real-world training data.
Right.
But it creates this divide. The enterprise locks down its proprietary methods, while individual devs feel like their personal output is being commodified.
Yeah, I mean, developers are pointing out the irony here. They're upset because their code is being used to train the exact tools that are threatening to automate their tasks. So what does this all mean for them?
It means this shift is inevitable, and upskilling is the only pragmatic path forward, which is why Microsoft is rolling out completely new certifications this month.
Like the AI Agent Builder Associate, which is exam AB 620.
Right. And notice the naming. It's not about deploying a simple chatbot. Exam AB 620 is aimed at architects building the complex multi-agent workflows we were just talking about.
Securely chaining models together, And there's also Exam AB 410, the Intelligent Applications Builder Associate.
Exactly. The industry is moving away from the title of coder to builder or orchestrator. The assumption is the AI handles the boilerplate syntax. Your value is in integrating the models, applying governance, and directing the AI to actually achieve the business outcome.
So to quickly recap the journey we've been on today for you, we started with data gravity, pushing the Azure operating model to remote, disconnected environments. We talked about WebAssembly outperforming containers at the edge,
We covered the rise of Copilot cowork and true agentic loops, where models like Opus 4.6 are self-correcting their own code and secure cloud
which
boundaries.
requires an entirely new machine speed approach to cybersecurity to fight off autonomous red teaming. And finally, the friction over privacy and the reality that tech professionals have to upskill from writing code to orchestrating AI.
It's a massive, cohesive architectural shift. And I think it leaves us with a really profound question to mull over.
Let's hear it.
As we enter this era where AI agents can autonomously digest requirements, build apps, debug themselves, and continuously red team their own networks, at what point do humans officially transition from being the creators of software to merely being the managers of digital ecosystems?
Wow, yeah, that is the exact reality every architect and developer has to navigate right now.
Yeah.
The avalanche of updates isn't going to slow down, but hopefully you now have a framework to separate the noise from the actual signal. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring the edges of this landscape, and we will catch you next time.